Hello there, and welcome back to another Nights and Movies podcast. I'm Spy Knight, and in these podcasts, I talk all things movies and TV, and whatever I want, whenever I want. And in today's podcast, I'm reviewing Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. But just before I do that, I should say what I say at the start of every podcast I do, which is, if you are watching this podcast on YouTube, hello to my viewers, but you prefer to listen to your podcast on Spotify, well, you are in luck, as you can also listen to this podcast on Spotify at Nights and Movies on that platform. And if you are already listening to this podcast on Spotify, hello there to podcast listeners, then you can also check this podcast out visually. Yes, you can watch this podcast at my YouTube channel at Nights and Movies on that platform as well. Likewise, wherever you may be watching or listening to this podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the podcast, of course, and please leave me with some feedback on things to improve on in future podcasts, because there are always things to improve on, and feedback is, as ever, much appreciated. So, let's get into it. Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. So this is the relatively new Apple TV Plus drama exploring Monarch, this secret organisation which has been touched on in the various monster movies that have all been part of the Monsterverse, as it's called, I think, from Warner Brothers over the past almost 10 years now. Yeah, because it was touched on. The monster movies that I'm talking about are the 2014 Godzilla film, which was directed by Gareth Edwards, Godzilla King of the Monsters, Kong Skull Island, and most recently, Godzilla vs. Kong. And there's even a new Monsterverse film coming out this year, which is Godzilla and Kong New Empire. I think it's called that. But anyway, get the point I'm making. This series is focusing on the secret organisation as touched on in all those films. And the Google plot synopsis for the series goes as follows. After the world-shattering revelation that monsters are real, which happened in the 2014 Godzilla film, two siblings follow in their father's footsteps to uncover their family's connection to the secretive organisation known as Monarch. And if you hadn't grasped it already, this does take place in the same universe as the 2014 Godzilla film, Godzilla King of the Monsters, Kong Skull Island, and Godzilla vs. Kong. Although it's actually said before Godzilla vs. Kong, but still. I was looking forward to this show. I was really looking forward to it for a couple of reasons. I've enjoyed this Monsterverse for the most part. I mean, I didn't really like Godzilla King of the Monsters, but I do still enjoy the 2014 Godzilla film, and I remember watching Kong Skull Island in the cinema and really liking it. And the more time has gone by, the more I like Kong Skull Island, because I think it's a great Vietnam War film parody. I think it's a parody of all those Vietnam War films from, like, what was it, the 80s and the 90s, and all the Vietnam War films that have been out. I think it's a great parody of those films, just with King Kong in it. It's got some really great action moments and some really great actors in there doing some really fun and exciting stuff. I love Kong Skull Island even. I don't love it as much as Peter Jackson's King Kong. I'd never love it as much as that, but I think it's a very entertaining film. And also, I really enjoyed Godzilla vs. Kong. I mean, that film makes almost no sense. The more you think about Godzilla vs. Kong, the more it doesn't make any sense. But it's an entertaining film, and it has that Godzilla and Kong fighting action that you've always wanted to see in a Godzilla vs. Kong film. At least I've always wanted to see. I remember watching the original King Kong vs. Godzilla from like 1963 growing up, and wanted to see a modern day take on that. And then when that modern day take came out in 2021, I was so excited to see it. The film makes no sense, yet I still find it wildly entertaining. And when I heard they were making this show, I was like, oh, so this is going to explain some of the connections and what this secret organisation is. It's actually going to explain what the secret organisation known as Monarch, which keeps appearing in these films, is going to explain what this show, what the secret organisation is. Plus, I got more excited when I heard that Kurt Russell and Wyatt Russell were being cast in the show to play the same character. Wyatt Russell, who is the real-life son of Kurt Russell, was going to play a young Kurt Russell, and Kurt Russell's going to have a big role in the series too, and I'm a big fan of Kurt Russell, so when I heard that, I put it on my radar. I was really looking forward to it. And now, I finished it this morning. I finally finished the show. I watched about 6 episodes of it over the weekend, because last week I caught up on it a bit, but then I stopped watching it for a little bit, and then I just full on, what do people call it, binge it. I couldn't think of the word. I binged the show over the weekend. I hate that word, but that's exactly what I did. I binged 6 episodes, the last 6 episodes of Monarch Legacy of Monsters. And honestly, I like this show. I think it's a solid human-led exploration into the Monsterverse and the aftermath of what these monsters have been doing and how it's affecting people's lives. I think there's a lot of great writing in there, and I think it gets better as it goes on, because the show, I will admit, started a little wobbly for me. I was like, oh, this isn't really what I expected it to be, but I kind of watched it because I wanted to see if anything important happened for the Monsterverse movies that I need to know about. And side on here, there isn't really anything that important. So if you haven't seen the show and you're still into watching the Monsterverse movies, don't worry, you won't be lost. Like when the new Godzilla vs. Kong film comes out this year, you're not going to be lost if you haven't seen this show. Nevertheless, I really, really liked the way the show went when all the twists were taking place, and when you found out about, like, how can Kurt Russell's character exist? Because we see his character, because there's 2 different storylines going on this show. We see the modern day storyline, although it's not really a modern day storyline because it actually takes place in 2015, but still, we see this storyline taking place close to modern day, and then we also see the storyline taking place in the 1940s and the 1950s with Wyatt Russell playing a young Kurt Russell, and then the 2015 storyline has Kurt Russell playing Kurt Russell. So, you know, it got those 2 storylines going on side by side. And then they pointed out one bit, how can, there was one stage in the show when they pointed out, how can Kurt Russell's character exist? Because he must be like 80, 90 years old, and yet it's Kurt Russell, and I don't know how old Kurt Russell is, but I think he's in his 70s or late 60s, and he's still running about or doing all this stuff. He can't be 90 years old, and the way they explained that, I, again, found engaging, and I really liked the show as it went on. It got better and better when the mystery started to unravel and all these things started to happen with how you find out, when you start to find out how the monsters were coexisting in this world, that's when the show really started to pick up for me. I was like, oh, that's what this series is about. And again, I think it's got a lot of perks. I liked it a lot overall. I think it's a solid show. I just don't love it though. And I think the reason I don't love it is because of the characters. The characters in the show are not badly written. I'm not saying that. There's actually some compelling parts to these characters. Like, for example, in the quote-unquote present-day storyline, which takes place in 2015, so it's not present-day, but still, in the present-day storyline, we follow these 2 characters called, I think their names are Kate and Kentaro. Apologies if I got those names wrong, but we follow those 2 characters in the modern day storyline. And we find out that their father had a secret family, and that these 2 characters are actually half brother and half sister. And we see them realise that in the first episode, and then that sort of puts them on their trail. I mean, it doesn't sort of put them on their trail, actually, it full on puts them on their trail to find their father and find out about all these conspiracies and all this mystery that Monarch has been covering up. I liked how that was done. There's some compelling parts to these characters. That being said, the characters aren't that likeable. They're not characters which you latch onto and you really care about. You know, I wasn't watching these characters going, oh yeah, this character, she's smart and intelligent, and she's also a bit smug. He is a funny character, he's really excited to watch, he's always bringing a bit of joy to the situation. And then there's this other female character, she's a bit of a loose cannon, but she's also a really great character, and she's always going to follow them. I wasn't really feeling like that watching the show, and I wanted to. The characters feel very one-note when you're watching them. The moments in the series, and I cherish these moments, when you see more to them and you actually get to see these characters having fun and showing a different side to their personalities. But the characters that we see, for the most part, the personalities that we see with these characters aren't that likeable. They're not personalities which you latch onto, and a lot of the performances are very moody and are very downhearted and annoyed, and there's a lot of moments in the show where something exciting is happening and it doesn't, you wouldn't be able to tell if you looked at the performances And the character writing, I mean, to a degree there, I do think that, again, there are some interesting parts in the writing of all these characters, but not nearly as good as it could be. And the reason I focus on the characters so much is because this is a character-led show. There are monsters in the show. I'm pretty sure there was a Titan, as he called them, you know, the big giant monster. I'm pretty sure there was a Titan appearance in every episode of this series. But it is a character-led series, though. The show mostly focuses on the characters, and there wasn't anything personality-wise that really made me latch onto these group of characters that we follow in the modern-day storyline. I did love Kurt Russell, though. Thank God he was in this show, because if Kurt Russell wasn't in it, I think I would have given up with it about halfway through. I'm being completely honest there. I think I would have given up with it. But Kurt Russell comes in, and he adds some charisma into what's going on. He comes in, he's got this charm performance, and immediately you're drawn to him, not only because it's Kurt Russell and he's the biggest star in the show, but also because he actually seems like he's having fun making this. I mean, I don't know if he was, but he seemed like he was having fun. I did also really like the character of Tim. What's the actor's name? Just got it down here. Played by Joe Tippett. He also has a role in The Morning Show, a very interesting role, another Apple TV Plus drama. I really liked him in this series too, because he actually had some personality. He's this person who's working for Monarch and no one's really noticing him, and then he becomes very important within the events of this show, within the events of the narrative of this series. Furthermore, I really like the 1940-1950 storyline when they're starting to realise that monsters exist in this world, and when they're trying to, you know, create Monarch and trying to actually protect these monsters and protect these monsters from destroying the world. I really like all that stuff, and I also liked at the end of the series how all the 1940-1950 storyline, how it tied into Kong Skull Island. I won't say how, in case people haven't seen the show yet, but there was a certain twist in episode 10 of this series which made me go, oh wow, that actually adds another layer of meaning to Kong Skull Island. But that's the thing, Kong Skull Island is better in my opinion still, because all the characters have personalities in that film. You know, yes, the personalities may be just because... Yes, the personalities are the actors as playing the characters. You know, Samuel Jackson is the Samuel Jackson in that film. John Goodman is John Goodman. Tom Hiddleston is Tom Hiddleston. And John C. Reilly is John C. Reilly. And Brie Larson is Brie Larson in the film. You know, the personalities is the characters they're playing. I never really see their characters in the film, but at least they have personalities. You watch them and you enjoy watching them because Samuel Jackson is a fun personality in a film. And you have Kurt Russell in this series, and he does bring some charisma to what's going on, adds some excitement to what's going on. But the other characters, the two children of this father who ran away, was working for Monarch, these two characters, Kate and Kentaro, and this other character called May, they're not that likeable, and their performance is a bit one note. And I'm not criticising the actors there. I should say I'm not criticising the actors, because it's the way the characters have been written, and it's what the director wants from them in the end. And I think that if the characters had more to them, then I would like them a lot more. But there's a part, I think it's like episode 7 or 8 of the show, as a cliffhanger at the end of the episode, where you think that maybe these characters have died. And I won't say what happens, but you think that maybe these characters have died. When you think they've died, I was sat there and I didn't really feel anything. I was watching it going, oh, okay. I didn't feel nearly as much as I wanted to. And then something else happened, and I realised, okay, they're not dead. You know, they're not dead. But still, it was made to think, it was trying to make the audience think that they were dead. And I didn't really care that much about them. There are some good characters in the show, and again, as I already said, I like the 1940-1950 storyline and the three characters who follow in that storyline. I liked the character of Tim, this person who's working in the basement of Monarch and actually has some importance to the narrative, a lot of importance to the narrative actually. I love Kurt Russell in the series. Thank God this series had him. I know the characters here and there, but some of the character writing is compelling. This whole idea of the secret families and this half-brother and half-sister who've never met before going on this adventure to go and find their father who was involved in Monarch. But again, just needed more personality with these characters, because the show, because it also makes the show suffer that. It does make this show suffer, where it's not, because it's not exciting as it could be. The show has the Titans in. You know, it's not a spoiler to say that Godzilla is in this show. He's in the trailer. But the thing is, the Godzilla moments work, but everything around them isn't that exciting as it could be. There are a couple of exciting parts, but particularly in the last episode. However, I was sat there and I was like, come on, you could be making this more exciting, more exhilarating, like the Godzilla scenes are in Godzilla -1. And maybe I'm not huge in this show because I, not too long ago, watched Godzilla -1 and I was blown away by that film. It's my third favourite film of 2023. Absolutely spectacular. And I'm watching this show and I'm going, oh, you almost had something there. You almost touching greatness, but you didn't quite get there. And the show isn't as exciting as it could be. It isn't as emotionally engaging as it could be. The characters, again, are just not that likeable, and it does suffer because of that. You don't really get that locked into the show. The writing isn't bad, and I think the twist works. I just simply think the character writing could have been better. And when you watch Godzilla -1, the character writing is so on point. It's a shame when you're watching this show and you see what they're going for. You see that they're sort of going for the Godzilla -1 formula, where they make you care about the characters, and when the monsters come in, it's even better. They're trying to go for that sort of formula, but it's not really working. And it's a shame to say, because I think this series has a lot of potential, and I don't think it fully lives up to its potential. Again, it's not bad. And I think there's a lot to like about the series, and I definitely recommend it if you haven't seen the show yet and you're a fan of the Monsterverse films like the 2014 Godzilla movie, Godzilla King of the Monsters, Kong Skull Island, and Godzilla. It's Godzilla vs Kong. I was about to say the other way around. I definitely recommend it. It was almost there, but I couldn't care that much about the main characters in the present day storyline, with the exception of Tim and Kurt Russell's character. I mean, thank God for Kurt Russell. And it is genius casting, by the way. Genius casting to have Wyatt Russell play young Kurt Russell, when in actuality, Wyatt Russell is the son of Kurt Russell. That's the genius casting. And some of the ideas really work to me. This whole idea of the different timelines, if you've seen the series, you know what I'm talking about. Again, a lot of the stuff in the 1940s, 1950s that we see in the show, that worked to me. And I liked the idea that they had with the character Kate, where she'd experienced Godzilla trauma in the past with the events that we see in the 2014 Godzilla film, where Godzilla destroys San Francisco Bridge, and she was there and she lost a lot of school children, and she was a school teacher, so how she's suffering from Godzilla PTSD. But again, that was just done in Godzilla -1, and I think to a far greater effect. Godzilla -1 kind of ruined the show for me. I still liked it, but I feel if I didn't see Godzilla -1, I'd like the show a lot more, you know? But it is what it is. It gets better as it goes on, and I did enjoy watching this, and it's a solid exploration into the world, into the human characters, and the world of this Monsterverse, which is currently going on. I think it could have been better, though. I just think it could have been better, and I wish it was. It's not bad at all, and it's a solid show, and funnily enough, it kind of felt like a modern day superhero series. It kind of felt like an MCU Disney Plus show, where the directing isn't anything particularly special, but the party... No, I take it all back. It felt like a good MCU Disney Plus show, because I'm not really a fan of MCU Disney Plus shows. I liked Loki Season 2 quite a lot, but I can't really say I liked any of the other Marvel Disney Plus shows that I've seen. I haven't seen them all, but from the ones I have seen, I didn't really like. And this felt like a good Marvel Disney Plus show, though, where you have all the same ingredients. I mean, it's not superheroes, but the thing in this show is the monsters. That's why people are going to watch it, and then all the writing. You know, it felt very superhero TV show. It felt similar to a superhero TV show. I'm not even sure what I'm trying to say here, if I'm being completely honest. I think it felt similar to a modern day superhero show in its writing and its in its storytelling. But much like a modern day superhero TV show, whether it's The Boys, Gen V, or any of the Marvel Disney Plus shows, the directing isn't quite there. The directing feels generic, and a lot of this show feels generic. It feels similar to those superhero TV shows we get nowadays, where, you know, if you like them, it's good and it's exciting to watch. And, you know, maybe not exciting to watch actually, but it's good and it's enjoyable to watch. But it doesn't really stick with you. I can't imagine this show sticking with me. You know, the only reason I remember these characters' names is because I literally just finished a show about an hour ago now. So that's literally why I remember these characters' names. And I felt it could have been more unique and had a bit more flavour to it, you know? It is what it is. I enjoyed the show, but I might just enjoy it because I like seeing more of this world, and I'm a big Godzilla and Kong fan. Although that being said, what the hell was the end? What the hell was the end of this series? It made no sense. It was confusing, and I sat there like, what does that mean now? Are they doing a Monarch series too? Are they? I haven't heard any word of that. I'm not saying they're not, I just haven't heard anything about it. Or does that tie into the next Godzilla vs. Kong film? I'm guessing not, but I wouldn't rule it out. I don't know. The ending left a lot to be desired. I'm hoping they do a season 2 and maybe it improves in its writing and actually make these characters more likeable, you know? Still, it's not bad. And, you know, I liked watching it. I did. I thought it was a solid show. Just not a great one. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that Monarch Legacy of Monsters, I'm going to say it's a 7.5 out of 10. I give TV shows and films a 7.5 out of 10. I think they're solid, nothing more, nothing less. I think it's a solid show that, you know, has some good parts to it. Again, I just wish the characters were more likeable, you know. And I wish it had more flavour to it. The reason I was going on about the superhero shows, though, was like, it doesn't really have many similarities to a superhero TV show at all, really. Although it has the same feel, where you're watching it and you're thinking, yeah, this isn't bad. A good superhero TV show that, like Gen V or like The Boys or like Loki Season 2, where you're watching it going, okay, this isn't bad, but it's not quite there. You know, it's not quite doing something different. Actually, I'd say Loki Season 2 did do something quite different, but with a lot of superhero TV shows, you're watching it and you're going, okay, the writing is okay, and I get what they're going for, and it's not a badly produced show, but it's just not quite getting there, and it's not making itself stand out amongst the crowd. The Boys is an exception because of all the explicit content, but there's still some moments in The Boys when I'm feeling like this could be more, you know, uniquely told in its storytelling with the filmmaking. I don't feel that the filmmaking of The Boys is that unique and that distinctive. I felt the same way about Gen V, and I feel the same way about a lot of the Marvel Disney Plus shows. In fact, I think that's what you know, decreases my liking of a lot of the Marvel Disney Plus shows, because of the directing and because of the storytelling, which feels very generic. And the reason I'm talking about that in relation to this is because Monarch at times does feel very generic in its storytelling, and you'd feel that, like, if it did something, just if it had more flavour to it and actually had some better directing and a score that didn't sound like it was trying to be a Hans Zimmer score, it could be so much better. But in the end, it's a solid show, and the writing in this series is far better than most Marvel Disney Plus shows, by the way. But it just feels very similar to, I don't know, the other big budget TV shows we've had recently, where the money's on the screen and you get what they're going for, but the characters aren't that likeable, and the series in the end isn't going to leave you with much to remember about, because it felt generic. You know, it felt very much like it didn't feel like must-watch TV. Not every show has to, I'm not saying that, but this show could have felt like that. It could have been the Andor of the monster universe, you know? And it wasn't. It's good, but I wish it was brilliant. I really wish it was. That being said, I love Kurt Russell and I love White Russell on the show, and there is a lot to admire. I like the series a lot more as it went on. And again, if you're a fan of this current Monsterverse, which consists of 2014 Godzilla movie, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, Kong Skull Island, and Godzilla vs. Kong, I would recommend watching the show, especially if you've got Apple TV Plus. Although I don't think it's going to be essential viewing for the next Godzilla vs. Kong film. And, you know, I liked it. I liked this series. And I liked how it explored the human side of the Monsterverse. I just wish the human characters were more interesting and more likeable. Yeah, it is what it is. I still think this is a solid show. And so, all in all, as I've already said, I'm going to say once more that Monarch Legacy of Monsters is a 7.5 out of 10 from me. Anyway, guys, that's it for today's podcast. Let's see how long I've been going on for now. Almost half an hour, man. Live. I did not expect to go on this long about this show, but nevertheless, I did. Whatever your thoughts are on Monarch Legacy of Monsters, please let me know in the comment section below. Maybe you love this series, and if you did, please let me know why. I love it when someone likes a show more than I do. Or maybe you didn't really like the series at all. Whatever your thoughts are on Monarch Legacy of Monsters, please let me know in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching or listening to this podcast. And if you haven't yet, please do click down below and like and subscribe on this podcast. I look forward to many more podcasts coming very, very soon on this channel. As I already said, thank you as always for watching or listening to this podcast, and I suppose this is it. So I will see you guys again soon, but bye for now. Bye!